Welcome back to the Home Story Cup 9. I keep almost saying Ace Your Team Story Cup because I'm just so used to it. Welcome back to the Home Story Cup 9 North America Qualifiers. I do want to sort one thing real quick. You guys who said those Widow Mines were going to kill the Mutalisks at the end of the game and it was a stupid thing to GG, do keep in mind it was only 2 Widow Mines. You need 4 to kill that many Mutalisks. 2 won't cut it. So, well, it looked cool and I was waiting for the big explosion of death to go off. That was not something that would have won the game. At any rate, he put on a pretty damn good show in game number 1. Let's see if he can pull it together for game number 2. The bottom right corner of the map, the pink Terran player, Intense. And his opponent in the top left, playing for Complexity Sound Blaster, the light blue Zerg player, hendralisk. Looking for that spot in the Home Story Cup qualifiers. Now, it's worth noting how this works. For those who are unaware, if you win this tournament, you're invited to Home Story Cup, but you don't have the fully paid trip. If you manage to actually eke out a top finish in the overall qualifiers, so like there's qualifiers for each region, and then like a top 8 qualifier bracket thing, that's a fully paid trip. So you will have the plane, your hotel, whatever. That's what takes care of for you guys. Otherwise, you got to pay the way yourself, and you got to get there on your own. So even though one of these guys might end up winning, the flight to Germany is going to cost a lot. You got to win at Home Story Cup to make that worthwhile. Either way, this is a fairly prestigious tournament, worth noting, and yeah. While this is going on, we had a small donation. I'll give a big shout out to Cage, threw $10 into the Showmatch fundraising badge, so we'll put that money towards good use. Thank you very much for your donation, sir. I'll have to manually go update the bot. But also, just while we're at the start of the game here, because we got no cheese coming out, big shout out to Prince Morganti. I'm sorry if I'm saying that name wrong, but Prince Morganti, thank you for your sub. I will be bundling the replays from today's cast out and sending them to our subs as always, guys. So whatever games we end up casting, whether it's Polt, Hendralisk, Destiny, you name it, you will get those replays. Because Home Story Cup, Acer, Take, they're all pretty cool about it. And this is a really odd spot for a spawning pool. Hold the phone. Wait. This is such a weird spawning pool coming down out of Hendralisk. It's not bad by any means, and it's not going to, I think, overly influence the game, but you know, we've seen a lot of Zerg players place it back here to try and help stutter the Reaper from going behind the mineral lines, and it's just awkward to see it so exposed out here on the edge of the creep. We'll see if he has any plans or reasoning for it, but... Oh, you know what this does, actually? This is really cool. This spawning pool actually gives vision to the Reaper cliff, and as we see, a Reaper is about to come up that cliff. For those who don't know, in King Sejong Station, there are these little cliffs on the side of the base, kind of like Yansu you can utilize, and he actually has full vision of it thanks to that spawning pool. I thought that was the Overlord giving the vision. That's actually, it's a subtle thing, but it's pretty cool. Anyways, he's going to leave a couple Zerglings on the ground to try and catch this Reaper. One, unfortunately, will get killed in a bloody, gory mess with guts being spewed everywhere. But that's what you get, Zerglings, for trying to fight off a creep. Shame, shame, shame. But yeah, with the Queens out, this shouldn't really be too big of a problem. Back at home for Intense, he is once again gone for that faster command center. He's got the factory in the way. I really like the way he opens these games, but the problem is, he's, I don't know. If I had to critique one thing majorly about that last game, probably going to be his macro. I kind of felt like it was slipping towards the end. I had mentioned it before, his barracks were a little bit late with the extra production, and it's usually about 13 Marines is what you want to see. You know, you'll see some Terran players do more, you'll see some Terran players get away with less, but that's usually because they're producing Thors or Widow Mines in tandem with it, and he was just really relying on Marines and Medevacs for a lot of that game, and if he had had that perfect 13 count, maybe he would have had just enough. I mean, do keep in mind, guys, Intense pulled off 2 almost impossible defenses and still managed to hold Hendralisk at bay. It's not like Hendralisk won that game so one-sidedly. That was laughable. In fact, he's still going to have to work at it here in game number 3. But Intense, if he picks up his macro, I could feel him taking a game off of Hendralisk for sure. And perhaps coming back, well, we'll see. But we got some Zerglings on the way, and they might have just had their speed kick in. Yeah, overdrive. This is a lot of lings. This is 18 lings. This is something similar to what we saw Minimath do in the WCS EU qualifiers. If a Baneling Nest were down, this would be kind of a cool Roach Baneling bust, but he's merely hidden the lings for the time being. With the Hellions chasing out in the middle of the map, though, ooh, this depot's down! Doesn't go for the top of the ramp, though. Goes straight to the mineral lines for a couple SCV kills. hendralisk perhaps could have, might still get through. No, forced to lift the depots. Unfortunately, going to sacrifice the SCVs, but way better than actually losing or compromising your production. Now, a couple Hellions do spawn, and hendralisk's time here is somewhat limited, but that was kind of a cool move. Again, segmenting off some of the lings. I was a little curious what he's planning to do, but with the Roaches following suit, I don't know if this is defensive, or if this is meant to be... No, it is going to be offensive, sorry, as he's rolling across the map. But, uh-oh. Hellions run by. Roaches are being picked away at. These aren't going to die anytime soon, but the problem is, hendralisk has thrown away a lot of his lings. The idea is to use the Roaches to open a way for those lings. 16 more are coming across the map, and he's certainly going to all in this for the time being. He's not going for that third. He's not going for drones, and he's not made anything to really tech out of this. Unfortunately, the depots are down, and the SCVs have been pre-pulled into this. Hellion DPS is all right, but it's nothing fantastic to hold this off. But as we see with good hold position on these, sorry, not hold position, what am I saying here? The attacks from the SCVs are helping buffer a lot of this damage. As the first round of Roaches get cleaned up, it's very potential to clean up the Zerglings with what is left over. That's a lot of Hellions that made this out of this alive, and hendralisk certainly did not do the damage to break Intense's back. Not with this first wave. But Marauder's out, and Woodmine's going to burrow here too. The Zerglings don't stand a chance of doing much damage, and he's going to hold. It cost him a hell of a lot of SCVs, though, guys. 25 have died while this is going on, and even a perfect Woodmine hit right now won't save the game by any means, but it's shut hendralisk down. More Zerglings coming in, but again, there's Hellions still remaining. There's a Woodmine down once that recharges. And Intense, he's got that third command center. Don't forget, he made this very early. Dropping 3 mules at a time, building 3 SCVs at a time. He'll make up those losses, and hendralisk, keep in mind, guys, he sacrificed the third base, and he cut drones for a long time to make that happen. Now, he did enough worker damage to make that viable with even resources lost almost, but yeah, that was really a push that I think was more catered towards ending, or more tailored rather, towards ending the game, rather than simply killing a couple of SCVs. We'll see whether he ends up regretting that decision or not. Coming for a small counterattack, unfortunately, with Roaches still standing, Intense can't really push in here. If there's less Roaches, oh, he's going to die fast. This is a mistake, I feel, because lings are popping up just in the nick of time. If there were no Roaches, he could die for the drone lines, but he's only going to get about 2 or 4 drones for this. It's, sadly, if you're a Terran player, you've been in this situation before where you're like, oh, I wish I had not just done that thing. But you know what? Mutalisks are on the way. We do have no stim pack. This is really unfortunate. It's only just started up. And while there might be a little bit of bio out, I kind of feel like Intense is overinvested in the Hellions. A lot of this was he needed to get units out in the field. He needed to get units down to fight, and that's why he had a lot of the Hellions coming out, because it was the only thing he could produce with the one Marauder. But unfortunately, this is going to leave him pretty air defenseless against the Mutalisks. There's a Marauder, there's 3 Marines, a couple Widowmines. Honestly, there's not a lot to really stop these. So he's going to have to really make sure that he gets those barracks up ASAP. I'm not sure if he... we'll see what ends up happening here. Intense, though, going to float around for a moment. Oh, welcome back to the family. Zargio with the sub. We'll talk about that more in a second, but we got the drones being pulled out of this. I think they're being transferred, not necessarily pulled, but as they line up, the Hellions could get some pretty nice shots off. But still, only 7 workers, 8 workers have died through all of this. Not at all worth sacrificing the Hellions for. But he did pick off a good chunk of the lings, which was really nice. But there's still not a full wall off. There we go. Finally connects the wall down. Anyway, Zargio, thanks for the resub, man. Glad to have you back. It's 2 subs in the course of this game. That's wicked cool. Alright, so I just write the name down so I don't forget about it later. Anyways, hendralisk gets streamlining across the map, but you know what? He doesn't have a Baneling Nest. These are not going to be too effective against a full wall. Woodmines, unfortunately, will be caught off in the middle of nowhere. Choosing to reposition those was just bad timing for Intense. I like the choice to actually reposition them. He was looking to get a little more scouting information and maybe get a hit off on some links that clump up in an awkward location, but... Baneling Nest finally coming out of hendralisk. He's going to bust through this wall like nobody's business. He's going to tear through the Marines like nobody's business. And while the Mutalisk count isn't exactly crazy, there's no turrets. They have the first turrets coming down. You actually can't repair this. Marines are going to have to be pulled to deal with it, but they still don't have stim pack. It's on the way, but it's not done yet. And a lot of SCVs go down for free. Mostly mules, actually. I take that back. But taking the workers killed up to 30 now. Hellions in the middle of the map for poor Intense. I just feel like this guy is frazzled at the moment. Can't breathe, can't really find any It takes some friendly fire. Yikes. I can't find really any breathing space here versus hendralisk. He's just been putting a lot of pressure and choking him out for the majority of this game. Now, there is a missile turret down, and this, well, Master Parrot can keep off, say, 9, 10 mutalisks, but as the number increases, the worse and worse his defense looks. But you know what? Intense has managed to get an army supply up while this has been going on. And a lot of this is actually an effective supply. So it's not a lot of Hellions. You know, if this was still like 40 Hellions, you're like, oh great, he's got 80 supply, but it's not that scary. Whereas with this many Marines pushing forward with medevacs attached to them, they've got stim pack, granted no combat shields, he's going to be able to fight pretty decently. The Banelings are on the way, but they have no speed, so if hendralisk can force a fight off of creep, he'll be in a really good spot moving forward. Especially with the wood mines burning and moving in here. He will see those Banelings, so he knows they're available. He's got to be careful about this. Oh, please don't go for a drop Intense. For Intense right now, I think scanning the location he's in, fortifying his spot, might be the best way for him to try and take a fight. Because if he drops this 2 medevacs versus this mini mutalisk, they're going to get destroyed. Unfortunately, the Overseer does morph in, so he's going to be able to see those widow mines. Does pick up in 1 medevac, but he doesn't move the medevac. Widow Mines get some decent hits off here on the Banelings. Soaks 3 Baneling hits to kill it, so not too shabby. Unfortunately, the Mutalisks are in hot pursuit of these medevacs. And actually, you know, with 2 medevacs healing, Marines could actually deal with these, but unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. He's waiting to boost once again. Oh, but he unloads in a very awkward manner. That's probably the worst way he could have handled that. That's a lot of Banelings coming down outside of his base. hendralisk might be on 3 bases, guys, but that's not a lot of drones. 46 workers. Another sort of all-in cut. Now, the 3rd base from Intense might get shut down, but all he has to do is really hold defensively well. He's got upgrades going in his favor. He's got tech in the form of Hellbats and Thors coming up too. He's not stuck on just Marines, but this is not going to be an easy hold. If he can hold, I hope he realizes he's going to be in this game. But this is always a depressing thing as a Terran player, to run into this many Banelings and wonder just how you're supposed to live through the follow-through. But hendralisk doesn't have you streaming across the map, and what he does in stream is just going to be Zerglings, something that these Hellbats can deal with a little bit more effectively. Marines still standing, trying to pick off these mutalisks, but there's not a lot of them. Trying to focus these down. He does go for the Overseer instead. That's got to be a mistake. A misclick and a half. More Zerglings running in the natural base. Well, the turret's actually doing more damage to the mutalisks than the Marines are, but Intense kind of needs to lift these up, put them in the main, and lift those depots. Sacrificing the SCV line might be an absolute necessity to hold on to this game. As I start choking on my words here. But the turret's going to pick off a couple more mutalisks. Thor's going to get a shot or 2 off, and the Banelings morphing in are not that big of a threat. Again, if Intense can hold, he will be in a good spot to stay in this game. But that's a big if, because this is such a dire situation, and unfortunately, Banelings and Zerglings still on top of this Thor. It's dealing some good damage, but it's not shooting anything relevant. Shooting Zerglings is a big waste of a Thor's DPS. But the Hellbats come out, and they will deal a ton of splash damage to these Zerglings. 1 mutalisk remains. hendralisk is going to tap out. GG will take us to game number 3 in Intense. Oh, god damn, this guy is good at holding. He might not be very good at attacking, but he's really good at holding his defense.